I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if we could just remain standing for a moment of silence, I'd like to, unfortunately, we had a Kent County person, Mr. Kenny Hickman, passed away, but I'd also like for us to keep all the graduates, the kids that have graduated, keep them in your prayers, that they have safe travels and move on to make this world a better place. So if we could all everybody keep those in our prayers, it would be great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Tom, on the agenda, you're up with some public hearing protocols.
Yes.
I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time there, but you just make sure everybody.
Sure.
Really, one of the things, make sure anybody that wants to speak, there's a sign-up sheet over there, and if you forget to sign that, we're going to call on you anyhow. So.
Right. There you go. So everybody's going to have an opportunity to be heard. I will start by reading into the record the public notice for the budget hearing. This is Kent County Public Notice, Fiscal Year 2026, Proposed County Budget. Notice is hereby given that the County Commissioners of Kent County will hold a public hearing for the FY 2026 proposed budget on June 3rd, 2025 at 6 p.m. in the Commissioners' Hearing Room of the R. Clayton Mitchell Jr. Kent County Government Center, 400 High Street, Chestertown, Maryland. The hearing is open to the public, and the public is encouraged to attend. Please call the County Commissioner's office at 410-778-4600 and press 4 if you need further assistance participating in the public hearing process. This is by order of the County Commissioners of Kent County, Sandra M. Blackiston, Clerk, and it was published in the Kent County News on May 15, 2025. And I would just note, we would ask first that anybody that's going to testify, please sign the testimony log. That'll make things go smoothly, but if you forget to sign it and you want to speak, just raise your hand or bring it to the attention of President Fithy, and you'll have an opportunity to speak. Please identify yourself and use the area up here designated for purposes of testifying, and please use the microphone. We need to have a public record of this. We ask that everybody try to keep their remarks to 3 minutes. The chair does have some discretion, so if you have more to say, we'll try to accommodate that. The chair will maintain order via voice commands, and please stick to the issues at hand. After this hearing concludes today, the commissioners will be accepting written comments through this Friday, June 6th, by the close of business. So if there's something you forgot to say or something you want to add, you can make a written comment through Friday, and you can also do that by email at kentcounty@kentgov.org. Thank you.
Then I assume we're going to turn this over to Pat for her budget.
Thanks. Okay, thanks for coming out tonight for the public hearing. I'll be presenting a PowerPoint of the highlights of the proposed fiscal year 26 budget. Okay, so let's start by talking about the challenge that the commissioners faced at the start of the budget process. The FY26 revenues are 3.3 million higher than the FY25 budget revenues, which represents a growth of 5.1%. However, at the start of the process, spending requests from county departments and other agencies exceeded the revenues by $6 million. So we had some trimming to do. First, let's look at the revenue side of the budget. The county's largest source of revenue is property taxes, which is 56% of the total, followed by income taxes that make up 32% of the revenue. So the property tax rate is $1.02 per $100 of assessed base. And it's only 1 cent higher than it was 25 years ago in 2020, or 2001, I'm sorry. With income tax, the legislature increased the maximum income tax rate this session to 3.3%. And the county will be increasing its income tax rate from 3.2 to 3.3% beginning with calendar year 2026. And additionally, we'll be earmarking these dollars for the middle school project. Water and sewer rates will be increasing 4% this year, which is based on the recommended annual increase from our last rate study.
Pat, before you go on, I'd like to add that under the property tax, where you say that the property taxes have only been raised by 1%, 0.1% increase since 2001, and I know everybody's saying, well, my property taxes went up almost every year.
Right.
The reason being is that the state assesses your property at a higher rate, but that's something out of our control.
Absolutely. And all of the increase in the property taxes that everybody received this year was due to the increase in the assessable
But as far as
base.
the rate, it's only, what we set has went up 1/10 of 1%.
It's gone up 1 penny.
1 penny.
Since 2001, sorry.
Right.
So in the last 25 years.
Because
So-
I can, look, if somebody told me that we hadn't raised taxes in all these years, I'd say, well, mine certainly has went up. And I know everybody else is saying the same thing, but that's the rationale behind it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's take a look at how Kent County's tax rates compare to the other counties in Maryland. In fiscal year 2025, our property tax rate was the 7th highest in the state, and it was the highest on the shore. Just as a sideline, during that year, 5 counties raised their income tax rates, and we had 2 counties who dropped their income tax rate. Property tax rate. If we look at our income tax rates, Kent County is one of 13 counties that have the maximum income tax rate allowed at 3.2%. At this time, we're really not sure how many counties will be raising their rate to the new maximum. So that information will probably be out shortly. Okay, so continuing to look at revenues, this schedule shows how the revenues are changing from last year's budget to this year's budget. You can see that property taxes will have the largest increase of just over 2.2 million. Income taxes will be increasing 755,000, and other taxes will be increasing 295,000. So our total revenue increase, budget to budget, is just a little over 3.3 million. So if we look at these changes in a little more detail, we can see what's changing. So with the property taxes, the majority of the property tax increase is due, to the increased assessments, as Commissioner Fithian was just saying. The assessable base after credits increased about 5% over last year's budget. So that is what has caused the majority of the increase. And we're also seeing an increase in the public utilities. On the income tax side, we're seeing an increase of 755,000, and this incorporates the state's growth percentage or projection of 2.3% and the rate increase from 3.2% to 3.3%. The recordation and the property transfer taxes are increasing based on the current housing market activity. Oops, sorry about that. So if we look at the revenue categories that are decreasing, we're seeing a decrease in our lease proceeds, and this is really because we have 4 less leases in FY26 than we did in FY25. We're also seeing a decrease in our intergovernmental revenues, and this is largely because we're seeing a decrease in the assistance from the health department for the rental expenses, and that was offset partially by an increase in the highway user revenue. Okay, so before we dive into the expenditure side, let's take a look at our fund balance position. So we expect to enter fiscal year 26 with a fund balance of just under 23 million. We're going to use 4 million of this to fund the FY26 budget, mostly the non-recurring expenditures. And then we're also going to transfer $13,255,000 into the capital projects fund to fund future capital projects. So this will leave us with a fund balance of just under 5.7 million, which is going to put us at 7.8%, which is 0.3% above our target of 7.5%. Okay, so now let's move over to the expenditure side. So our recurring unrestricted expenditures are going to be increasing just slightly under 5 million. Our non-recurring restricted expenditures are going to be increasing just under 11.9 million. So in total, our revenues will be, our expenditures will be increasing just under 16.9 million. So let's look at the recurring unrestricted expenditures first. So if we look at these expenditures by function, and this is what it looks like. Our largest expenditure by function is public schools at 21.5 million. And you can see that that's followed by spending on public safety, general government, public works, and transfers to other funds. And if we look at this same recurring unrestricted expenditures by category, we can see that the largest category is public schools at 21.5 million, followed by salaries, benefits, operating, allocations, transfers, and finally debt and contingency. So now let's take a look at how these expenditures are changing from last year's budget. So we'll start with public schools. So the public schools funding is going up a little over 1.1 million. The required minimum local effort was 816,000, and the county is also providing an additional 301,000 above that required funding level. If we look at our salaries category, that's increasing by 393,000. We have 2 new positions in the budget. We have 2 EMTBs. We are also removing 5 positions from the budget. We have 4 public safety positions and 1 public works position. And the budget includes a 5% salary increase for county employees. And the salary increase, part of the reason is it tied in with our benefits. So our benefit costs are going up by 789,000. We're seeing one of the largest health insurance increases we've seen in recent years. It's going up by 14%. We're also seeing a pension increase on the county side of 11%. So those are the 2 largest contributing factors to the benefit increase. In the category of operating, this category is going up $805,000. The largest increase is in the detention center for contracted services. You can also see the other departmental increases there on the screen. We're going to see a $96,000 increase in our environmental operations. That's mostly due to monitoring that we're required to do, and an increase in the yard waste grinding. Unfortunately, our other insurance costs, besides health insurance, we're also seeing increases of 12 to 15% there. We're going to have some increases in information technology with some engineering that has to happen with our fiber. We're going to see an increase in emergency medical services, building maintenance, and also in finance. Okay, if we look at the category of allocations, and allocations are funding to agencies that aren't a direct part of Kent County government, but that we do fund and support. So we had an $88,000 increase. We had mandated increases of $409,000 this year. Part of it were the top 2 items there, teacher's pension, and they passed on, or in the legislature, they decided that the counties were now going to absorb part of the teacher's pension costs. So that's an increase to us this year. Also, we were funding the State Department of Assessment and Taxation, and they raised the percentage of funding that we now have to contribute. I think it's 90% now of that agency that we're paying for.
Where it was 50-50.
Whereas 50-50, I think it's 90-10 now.
The first 2, I don't know about the health department, but the first 2 lines are mandates that's changes that's been down to the air level from the state to help with their budget.
Correct. And they're new to our budget this year. The Health Department, there is a funding formula that we're required to fund every year. There was an increase in that. And our volunteer fire companies are mandated through our local legislation, and there was an increase in that tied to the increase in the assessable base. Other requests went up $155,000 of all other agencies. The largest one in here was Upper Shore Aging, and this was due to an increase in meals, plus they received a reduction in state funding.
One more time. We increased air appropriation because the state decreased theirs.
That would be correct.
And we couldn't see people going without Meals on Wheels and things of that nature.
Correct. And lastly, we saw a decrease because in FY '25, we had a couple of large one-time requests from the towns. We helped support Chestertown with their restrooms and Rock Hall with their water filtration system. So we won't see those increases again in FY '26. Okay, moving on to debt service. This category is going up $43,000. It's mostly because of the rising vehicle lease costs. We're just seeing increases in those costs. And the last category is transfer to other funds. It's just under $2 million. The majority of it is for water, wastewater services, and it's mostly for infrastructure repairs. Okay, so now if we look at the non-recurring expenditures. So the non-recurring side of the budget totals a little over $18.9 million. And the categories that make up the non-recurring are our capital projects, our capital expenditures, and our leased capital. So the largest one in here is the transfer to the capital projects fund. So this is $13,255,000, and of that, $255,000 is the money that is earmarked for the middle school as a result of the increase in the income tax rate. And $13 million of it will just be for future capital projects in general. We're also allocating $211,000 to the detention center facility. We have.
Can you explain that a little more?
So I think that we are still, we're still evaluating whether, what exactly that plan looks like, but we have allocated dollars to move forward, whether it's with the regional or our own facility.
For design dollars.
For design.
What's that?
Design.
Okay. Is $2,345,000 in capital projects for education for the Kent County Middle School project, and at Chesapeake College, we're funding our share of the Queen Anne's Technical Building. There's $243,000 in Public Works for bridge repairs and site work at the Millington wastewater treatment plant, and $38,000 for various program open space projects. And most of these are out at our parkland. So the next category in the non-recurring is the capital expenditures. And these are the things that the county buys. We're going to spend $1,946,000 in this category. The largest portion of it is in Public Works. And you can see the items that are going to be purchased. A lot of equipment, dump trucks, mowers, generators. There's a stormwater project in there. We do paving and surface treatment, HVAC equipment, library roof, and courthouse landscaping. In public safety, we have $238,000 earmarked. This is for emergency medical services facilities furnishings. Most of this will be going to the new facility out on Vickers Drive. We also are buying law enforcement equipment and an animal control vehicle. In general government, we have technology equipment purchases. We have some office space redesign, election office poll books. Parks and Rec will be spending $23,000 on exercise equipment, park signs, and pool repairs. Okay, and the last category in the non-recurring is the leased capital. And this is primarily for our vehicle leases. We have 11 vehicles we're leasing this year. 5 of them are in Public Works, and 6 of them are in Public Safety. Okay. And lastly, having gone through the budget, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the long-range challenges that the county is facing in the coming years. Currently, in our 5-year capital plan, we have $82 million in projects for the middle school, public safety infrastructure, and courthouse renovations. That's a big ticket item for us. We also are going to be faced with state mandates. I know you've all heard us talk about the blueprint and the additional requirements for educational funding, and we also have the Time to Care Act. So these are going to present quite a challenge.
Just for the audiences, why don't you or Shelley, one, explain that Time to Care Act? Because that's something new as well that we are forced to deal with from the state level.
Correct. So that is a new program that the state has mandated upon all employers, not just local governments. Thankfully, at this point, it has been postponed. It was already supposed to be into effect, but the Department of Labor is having trouble navigating through implementation and regulations. So they have asked for a postponement. So right now, we're scheduled to implement that next year, and it's basically a leave bank, but you apply through the insurance. You don't apply to the county as the employer, like you might sick leave. You apply to receive part of your salary through this, it's kind of like an insurance, for lack of a better word.
So if you have problems within your family or something, you can
Correct,
take more time off.
correct.
The only reason I'm pointing out this, because a lot of decisions are made by somebody other than the three of us. That's,
Correct, and like I said, I think it can't be emphasized enough, this is not just local government, it's not something that you either opt in or opt out of. Everybody is required to participate. Businesses, governments, everybody.
Okay. And with regard to the blueprint, I think it might be worth taking a look at what the, how this is going to affect the county in the coming years. If we look at FY '26 on this schedule, what this shows is that we had $3.3 million in new revenue this year. Roughly 1/3 of the revenue was allocated to the public schools, which is the purple bar, and 2/3 was allocated to fund all other county operations. And this allocation makes sense because the public schools make up about 1/3 of the county's total budget, and all other operations make up the remaining 2/3. So in this schedule, what we did was simply assume that we were going to get the same new revenue all the way through here, that we continue to get new dollars of $3.3 million every year. And if that happened, this shows how much of the new money would go to the blueprint and the funding of the public schools versus the county. So you can see FY '27 is going to present a real challenge to us. If we get the same amount of new money that we did, the funding of that $3.3 million, $2.5 million will go to public schools, and the rest will go to the county. So that's basically 75% going to public schools and 25% going to fund other county operations. In FY '28, 42% of the new money would go to public schools and the rest to the county, 51% in FY '29, and then again 75% in FY '30. So this will, clearly present a challenge.
in the next 4 years, we're looking at $8 million increase in 4 years.
Correct. And that kind of shows, how it would be allocated out. So this certainly is going to present a challenge to us in the coming years. Next year's budget, I think, will be especially challenging. So we just wanted to kind of take a little deeper dive into those numbers. And so with that concludes my presentation. So I'll turn it back over to Commissioner Fithian.
As always, thank you very much for all the hard work you and your office has put into our budget, and you deserve a lot of credit. And I've always said that the day she quits, I'm quitting.
Well, I'd just like to say, I'm the one that's always standing here, but it truly is a team effort, and I really would like to thank my staff for all the hard work they've done during the budget season.
Nice.
But as I always say, you three have the hardest job by far. And so I'm always glad to be sitting on the other side of the desk, giving you the information
The
and not
hardest job
required to
we
make the
got is keeping
decisions.
you here. That's what we're going to do. Great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Now is the time that we open it up for public comment. Sandra, you want to give me the sign-up sheet, I guess? We'll see who signed up.
We just have one person that signed the testimony log, so
Okay.
maybe open the floor.
Mr. J. Silcox.
I'll probably hang tight until we get to the library portion.
It's easier for me.
Okay.
You can,
He's not-
Herbie, you want to come up?
job with now.
Sorry, I'm one of the ones who forgot to sign up.
That's okay. We're going to, anybody that wants to speak is certainly going to be given the opportunity.
All right. Well, welcome, everyone, commissioner, staff. I came down just.
Want to
sent-
just, for the record, you want to state your name?
Yes, Herb Kane, Executive Director of Upper Shore Aging. I came down for just really one thing. I'd like to go on public record for telling the commissioners and your hardworking staff, thank you, and I appreciate you. Thank you, first of all, for your commitment to the seniors in Kent County. And that's reflected by, awarding us our budget. As everyone knows, the senior population's growing in Kent County. We're about 27%. As you also know, this is my first year as Executive Director at Upper Shore Aging, and what a first year it's been. We receive a sizable amount of state and federal funding that's given through the Department of Aging. So I can appreciate what everyone's gone through because we've had to go through it on a smaller scale. And as Pat, as you presented the budget, I see a lot of your increases, additional expenses and insurance and maintenance kind of mirrored with Upper Shore Aging. So I don't know if everyone realizes or not, how tough things are, but I just simply wanted to come down and just say thank you, and I appreciate all your work that you've done.
Well,
So I
thank
want to
you
go
very
on record
much.
for that.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, before we close the public hearing, I do want to note for the record that we did receive written comments from the president of Chesapeake College, and those comments will be considered by the commissioners and will be part of the record of this hearing.
Very good.
He was sad that he couldn't be here this evening, but he had another commitment. So he'll be joining us in the near future with some updates from the college.
Very good. But I read them. I think they were complimentary to the Kent County being, a lot of people might not know, but our Chesapeake College is, obviously they get federal and state funding, but there's 5 counties that also help with their budget. Kent, Talbot, Caroline, Dorchester, and Queen Anne's. And it's, so that's why his saying what he said. We appreciate that. Anyone else in the audience that would like to address and talk about the budget? Dr. McComas,
Good evening.
good evening to you.
Just quickly, likewise to our colleague who was just here, I just want to take a moment to say thank you for your support in this budget cycle. And, we know investing in children is investing in the future. And I have complete confidence that we will navigate the out years as partners. So bring it on, we can manage. So thank you. I just want to say thanks.
Well, just sit right there for a second. Is there anyone else that wants to speak on behalf about the budget? If not, I got something I'd like to read.
Okay.
Should we close the public hearing?
Yes.
Yeah,
Close public
I
hearing first.
apologize. Yeah, just stay
Okay, yes,
seated
sir.
there.
Right.
And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the public hearing, unless someone else has something to say. That being none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing, and anyone that wishes to comment can do so in writing until Friday, June 6th.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. We are back in open session. This is Kent County, Maryland, to Dr. Mary McComas. Be it known, in recognition of your outstanding service as the Kent County Public Schools Superintendent, and in honor of the leadership and dedication you have demonstrated for the benefit of the students and citizens, and as an expression of our gratitude and great respect for your invaluable contribution to our public school system, we are pleased to confer upon you this Commissioner citation, signed the County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland, Ronald H. Fithian, President, Albert H. Nickerson, Member, and John F. Price, Member, dated June the 3rd, 2025.
Oh, well, thank you. I feel like I should have.
And listen, for those that don't know, this is your first budget
Yes.
that she's served us, and it wasn't easy. And she took it like a trooper, and she worked herself through it, and we were glad to help, and we really appreciate you being such a team player for Kent County.
Thank you.
And we think that our students are in good hands.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you so much, as always. Of course.
We'll have a picture taken.
All right, there we go. Hi, thank you. Thank you. All right, short people in the front. In case you didn't know. I guess I do this. Thank you very much. All right, you guys.
All right, public notices. Got a couple here to read. Let me get this computer straight. Code Home Rule Bill Number 3-2025, introduced by Ronald H. Fithian, President of the Board of County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland, an act to amend the public local laws of Kent County, Maryland by revising Chapter 64, Animals, by adding a new Article 2 and providing for an effective date. This article establishes requirements for licensing fox hunting club dog kennels in Kent County. It covers only the physical facilities where hounds are kept. This legislation was adopted on May the 20th, 25, with amendments, and the provision of this act shall take effect on July the 4th, 2025. This bill in its entirety is on file at the County Commissioner's Office, 400 High Street, Chestertown, Maryland, Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., and on the county's website at www.kentcounty.com/government. By order of the County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland, Sandra M. Blackston, Clerk, and it's published in the was published in the Kent County News on 5/29/25 and 6/5/25 and 6/12/25. The next one is notice of public hearing. The County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June the 10th, 2025 at 10 o'clock a.m. in the Kent County Commissioners Hearing Room R. Clayton Mitchell Jr., County Government Center, 400 High Street, Chestertown, Maryland. The agenda for the meeting will be published online at www.kentcounty.com/government 24 hours in advance of the meeting. Citizens are encouraged to participate in the public hearing and may offer comments by attending in person or submitting written comments. If you require communication assistance, please contact the County Commissioner's Office at 410-778-4600 and press 4 or visit Maryland Relay at marylandrelay.org no later than noon on Friday, June 6, 2025. The public hearing is scheduled to discuss the voluntary creation of agricultural land preservation districts for the following: Lester C. Jones and Son Incorporated, 12824 Massey Road, map 16, parcel 20, Lester C. Jones and Son Incorporated, 13013 Massey Road, map 16, parcel 8, and Lester C. Jones and Son Incorporated, located on Massey Road, map 16, parcel 55. Fairfield 1 LLC, located on Locust Grove Road, map 14, parcel 30. The hearing is pursuant to the Code of Public Local Laws of Kent County, Chapter 171-5, Agricultural Preservation Districts, by order of the County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland, Sandra M. Blackston, Clerk, and it was published in the Kent County News on 5/29/25. We also have a list, it's of 8 consent items, and when I say consent items, these are merely things that we have discussed in the past and just needs some approval or motion. So we have a regular session minutes dated May the 20th, 2025. We have liquor minutes dated May the 20th, 2025. We have our closed session minutes dated May the 20th, 25. We have Department of Social Services Advisory Board. We have the Office of Emergency Management FY 2026 Police Accountability and Community Transparency Grant Application. We have the Kent County Detention Center and Increased Purchase Order with Correct RX. And we have the Kent County Sheriff's Office Police Accountability, Community and Transparency Grant Program Application Approval, and Environmental Operations at Nicholson Drop-Off Center surface treat areas. So, gentlemen, do we have any questions about those 8 items?
No.
Then I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve all 8 of the consent items as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Next up, under Special Class C licenses, we have Bridges at Worthmore applying for a beer and wine on June the 28th, 2025. This is nothing more than a notice that there will be a public hearing for that. And then our first appointment is Robert Bell, Executive Director, Kent County Public Library, to talk about the library roof grant status. Mr. Bell?
Hold on, Mr.
And-
President.
Excuse me,
I think we do need to hold the public hearing on the special Class C license
Oh,
tonight.
okay, I apologize. We're getting ahead of ourselves, or I'm getting ahead of us.
Everything, it's been reviewed by staff, everything is in order, but this would be the opportunity.
Okay,
if
but we
anybody
still
wants to
got to go
speak.
through the
Correct.
formality. I apologize. I thought that was advertisement for one coming up, but I apologize. So, Bonnie, you want to come up?
Well, this is just a Class C, just
Correct.
a per diem.
Oh,
So
Correct.
legally, we have to have a public hearing,
Correct.
so if it's your wish, we can have this be the public hearing and anybody that would like to speak.
And we
Okay.
reviewed it and everything is good to go. We just have to, by law, have a public hearing.
And today, so that's the Bridges at Worthmore.
Correct.
Is applying for a beer and wine license. for June the 28th, 2025. Because it's a alcoholic application, it is in need of a public hearing. We will let tonight be that public hearing. If anyone would like to speak for or against this application, please feel free to do so at this time. There being none, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the special Class C per diem liquor license application for Bridges at Worthmore.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Now we're back on track, Mr. Bell. If you'd like to come up, I apologize again, but
And I believe we have Dan Mattson that'll be joining us for this conversation, as well as Joanne McNamara, if you wouldn't mind coming up. And I have a feeling we're going to have other people speak as we go through this process. But there's a lot of information here. I just want to make sure everybody is
sure.
ready to talk into the microphone.
I want to first say thank you for the budget allocation that you gave us. And this is a separate issue from that, but we will have some feedback about the budget a little bit later on. But as far as the roof situation goes, there was a staff report that was in the packet for this meeting. We have requested $299,000 from the county, which is half of the share of replacing the current shingle roof with a metallic roof. We got a budget allocation from Maryland State Library Agency for the other half, $299,000. And the only amount that is available to cover this roof is $80,000 at this present time. So essentially, we would be asking for another $219,000 to cover our share. However, we do have an option, option 2, as Mr. Mattson put in the packet, which is to request a rollover to the next fiscal year. So the Maryland State Library Agency would maintain the grant for another year and allow us time to look at different options. I met with Mr. Mattson about this, and I talked to the board and other members of library supporters about this issue. And we believe this is probably the best option. This would give us time to look at other possibly cheaper options. One problem with the grant is that they will not allow us to downgrade to a shingle roof. They will only cover a metallic roof. There's the possibility that the estimate that we got might have been too high. So if we put this off for a year, it would give us the chance to look at other possibilities that the grant would still fund. So do you want to?
Yes. So this grant was put together very quickly last year by myself and Chris Walmsley from the library, I believe, in between when the library even had directors. When we put it out, I do recall at the meeting approving it, there was talk of possibly changing the scope if we were lucky enough to get the grant and throttling it down to a shingle roof. It was only a week or so ago when we were going over some specifics and responses we had gotten to a potential scope change from the State Library Authority that I learned that the roof on the library now was funded by a similar grant from the same agency. It was granted to be a metal roof, and then the scope changed to shingle. So the funding agency was unwilling to do the same thing again, given that the roof is about 15 years old and in rough shape. What I can add is that since I met with Robert last week, we have been in touch with other contractors. I'm seeing pricing, total contractor pricing in the neighborhood of about $335,000, as opposed to $600 for the initial application. The application we put in was done by Tremco and had them project managing and designing. So I think that there is a way to sharpen the pencil quite a bit on this funding. It may involve filling some of that gap that Tremco would have provided or had scoped in the initial project estimate by hiring an architect, for example, to draw up some plans and oversee the installation itself. But I think there is very good potential for significant cost reduction for this project. And given the time constraints we have, I would agree that if we could extend the term of the grant 1 year, it would give us time to be better prepared come budget season next year with a firm number to put into next year's budget and match the grant. It's a 50% match, as Robert said. This would involve going back to MSLA and changing the scope and funding, downgrading the funding, obviously reducing the funding, obviously, and introducing them the revised scope where it wouldn't just be we hand off the project to one firm that can design, manage, and construct. But I believe, we have 9-10 months to the next budget season. I think we'll be in a good position to have better numbers nailed down and some value engineering imparted on the project. So I would recommend requesting a one-year extension on this.
And from the messages that I've received from Renee Croft, who is the grant managers for MSLA, they are willing to extend it another year, and if we come up with another option that meets our criteria, basically a non-shingle roof but a metallic roof, that the amount of their funding would be reduced accordingly. So if we could come up with a $400,000 roof, they would still pay for their share, $200,000, and the county would be responsible for the other $200,000. So we wouldn't be losing anything by extending it for a year. In fact, I think it opens up a lot of options for us in the future. The problem with the previous roof, the shingle roof, was that it didn't meet the 15-year criteria. It only lasted 14 years according to MSLA, and that's why they are steadfast in their refusal to downgrade to a shingle roof. So they basically feel that they didn't get their money's worth out of the shingle roof, and that this building requires a metallic roof going forward.
When I was preparing for the meeting and going through the agenda items, I noticed that there was mention of some rotten wood and some leaking that's going on around the soffit area. And
Along
because of the way it's
the High Street side of the building, yes.
designed.
We just had some leakage last week or the week before during one of the rainstorms. So it's not a major problem, but it is still an existing problem that needs to be repaired at some point in the future.
And we did receive a quote, this is all, I got the quotes within the last hour, so I apologize. We did receive a quote for a spot repair on that section, which if you were to go up there, you'll see as the roof comes down, it has a belly before it even reaches the gutter, and the water's sitting there seeping in. That would be about $25,000 for a repair of that front section.
Wow.
It's a cement board roof. It's not plywood. And yeah, we made some extensive spot repairs throughout, silicone caulk along all the dormers, replacing shingles, things like that. Last year, generally, it's held up pretty well, but in the last couple of weeks with the rainstorms we've been getting, that front section, pretty much the length of the building on the High Street side has begun to see some leaks again.
Any other questions?
I can speak a little bit on this.
Jay, I was going to ask if you wanted to speak to this.
Sure. Jay Silcox, past president of the board. I did bring a couple of drawings from the original building design, if anybody is interested in seeing them, but they sort of give you a good idea as to what the difficulties are in this roof. There are internal to the roof structure rain scuppers that capture runoff differently than you would, when you think of a normal rain gutter that sits on the fascia of the building. They're actually inset into the roof, which you can imagine is problematic from, a waterproofing, a flashing, a sealant, aspect. That's where a lot of the problems are occurring. The secondary problems are on the dormers or the clear story windows that you see, the major roof features. Those are pretty much abrupt vertical interactions with the roof, with the main portion of the roof. So any sort of snow, major rainfall that we've had just doesn't have the opportunity to shed like it should So at a minimum, those two components have, you know, contributed the bulk of these issues. And that's not necessarily a shingle quality or roof quality, that's a baseline design issue from the get-go. And Dan and I have been up on the roof together and looked at these items and traipsed around, and yeah, I mean, it's a hurdle to overcome.
Where the scuppers are, is that where we're having the water intrusion there?
Partially,
We have historically had problems there. The most recent would be on the other
I
side of
haven't
the
been on the
building.
roof, but I'm just
Yeah,
not being.
it has a history of problems there, and we have tried to block sections
But
of
it
it
would be,
and shed water outside.
and I haven't seen this, but I'm thinking it would be cheaper to put the band, if they just do away with that, put a piece of gutter on the fascia. That seems
100%.
to be a little cheaper than, if that's where the problem is.
that's part, I mean, I think correcting some of these internal, you know, design, features, would
Hey, whether
help.
it's metal or whether it's shingles, in my world, I wouldn't want to recommend doing that same system, because I don't care if, that's designed to leak. It's not a matter of.
100%.
It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of
Bringing water
when.
into the roof structure is never
Yeah.
a good idea. I think from a longevity standpoint, obviously, the metal is, you know, you're looking at your, 40, 50, where hopefully I'll be gone and not have to be up here again. But that approach is, obviously it's an investment. But at the same time, like you said, shingle, metal, what slate, whatever kind of roof, these features should be corrected.
I don't know much about roofs, other than they keep you dry, usually. But you were saying that the roof has like is it a valley that the water moves through, or is it an actual?
In the present condition, so on the back of the building, there are bump outs, rectangular bump outs from the main structure. And rather than the gutter following those bump outs, the gutter cuts straight across them and goes over the interior of the building, which has historically allowed water around it if it gets clogged or blocked for any reason, and that water finds its way into the building. On the High Street side of the building, the decking has failed about 5 feet from the edge of the roof. And that is where we're seeing the roof come down, a bit of a belly, and then it goes back down to the gutter. So I think there is some boards and some roof sheeting that needs to be replaced along that side as well. So
And these aren't necessarily structural deficiency. I mean, the roof structure itself
the truss system and everything
robust.
yes.
It's years of water infiltration that has finally rotted the deck to the point where it's now evident. And when you have that level of rot, it's just going to propagate. It doesn't, if the base problem isn't solved, it doesn't dry out and go away. It just gets worse.
As I recall riding by there a million times and not looking at it, but never looking at it, it's just like a little shed roof or lean-to roof, the area you're talking about, correct? On the front side?
Yes.
I mean, that just seems like a lot of money to me, Dan, for the repair, so.
Well, and in front of you tonight is not the repair.
Okay.
That's more of an FYI. Right now, there's the request to roll over the
I'm
funding.
good with rolling it over. I mean, that's just me.
We
While we
have.
explore options.
Yeah,
Right.
we have $80,000 in the FY26 capital budget towards this roof. That was done under the assumption that we could reduce the grant scope from metal to shingle. We recently found out the grant agency won't do that, so our options are to either increase that 80 to 299 and proceed with the grant. That's option one. Option two would be outright refusal of the grant And option 3 would be to ask for a 1-year extension on the grant.
And explore options.
And
I mean, I like option 3 personally, and even though there's $80,000 there, doesn't mean that we need to spend $80,000 on repair the roof that we're gonna replace in a year, so.
Very much understood.
I mean, I'm thinking that we can find somebody to repair that for a lot less money, personally. I haven't been up there, I'm just thinking that we can
that is
reduce that number by.
that is one quote I got an hour ago. I haven't gone through it, so yes, I
Tell
don't.
them no.
Understood.
And I'd also like to suggest the possibility of maybe creating an ad hoc committee to look at this issue. Since we'll have several months to work on it, I'd be happy to work with this, maybe get someone like Jay and Mr. Mattson as well.
Well, it seems like, me listening, is Jay and you and Dan are all kind of on the same page, that it's probably a good idea to postpone this thing for a year and let us regroup, and all of us take a second look, regroup, and see if we can come up with the right answer. So, if,
And meanwhile, put the Band-Aid, or
Yeah.
we have to stop the water infiltration, for sure.
Yeah, basically stop it from doing any more damage.
Exactly, yeah.
So I'm assuming you want a motion to.
well, as long as we don't have any other questions,
No, sir, I'm good.
then I entertain a motion.
Right, so there were 3 options on the table. Staff recommendation is to request rollover of the grant funding to FY '27
I think
during
that's-
the exploration
And that sounds like
period.
that's everybody's recommendation at this point. So I'd like to make a motion that we roll over the funds to the FY 2027 budget, and that is the grant funds.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
All right?
Now, wait,
I might just suggest that we add to that, because I'm not sure what MSLA will request from the county as part of that rollover request, to maybe delegate authority to sign, say, a letter for intent to move forward next year, if that's what will be required from the county.
All they've asked me to do is respond to them as quickly as possible, basically by the end of this week. I'll probably do it tomorrow, and tell them that the county has decided to go ahead and take the rollover and the extension until fiscal year 2027.
So an email will suffice.
I believe so, yes.
If they wanted a letter, we'd
I was
have
wondering if they
next week's
wanted-
meeting to
if
get the
they
letter.
wanted-
Yep.
If they need a letter of intent, we could certainly do that.
Just let us know.
Okay.
Can I just ask one thing, because what you guys just presented.
Just want to state your name, please.
Excuse me, my name's Chris Braver. You guys presented a pretty big increase in the budget next year. And I don't know, I don't.
sorry.
wait, let us finish up with this library first, and
Yeah,
then,
well, this is about that. So, and I don't understand the
Microphone.
lingo, but I don't know if that's appropriating the money. Will the money still be available next year? If it's kind of available now, I would hate for us to position this, just assuming that everyone's all for it, and you showed it, that's a big jump that you're expecting next year. And we didn't really have the revenue to support it. I would hate to say, let's roll it over and it just not be there next year, is what I'm getting at. I don't know when you
Well,
guys
all we have
say,
in there this year is 80,000. So
Right.
we don't have the 300,000, or the 150, or whatever it is. All we have in there this year is 80,000, because we were anticipating a shingle roof.
right,
That's what we had allocated this year, was a shingle roof. So I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
And, I mean,
so does that mean 80,000 will be there next year at a minimum? And I know we're gonna need more than that, but is that?
So
that's
right now,
what I'm-
the 80,000 is earmarked for this project, and if it's not spent, it can simply be moved into the next year. It's not
Right on.
going anywhere,
Fair enough.
but it sounds as though.
That's
the
why a lot of, I
request might
don't
be
understand the
more than
lingo
80.
really and what that means. However,
We're essentially moving
Sorry about
money
that,
from
yeah.
one fiscal year to the next.
Right.
Carrying it over because we
and
didn't
I can
spend.
assure you, we're all fans of the library, and once we figure out the right solution to the problem, we're gonna fix it. It's just that simple. We're certainly not gonna,
we're not gonna let the roof.
we're not gonna let anything happen to our library, that we can assure you. The request was to delay it for a year. We believe in the three of you that's been working on it, that you're gonna try to come up with the right answer. I've got a motion and a second to delay it for a year, and if there's no other questions, I'm gonna call for a vote.
Just a
Comment.
We have a great grant writer here with the county now, and maybe there, between now and next year's budget, we might be able to find or identify some additional funding sources that would soften the cost.
I will say to the commissioners, that is already part of my agenda, if we postpone this for a year, to look for additional sources to help defray the cost of that.
Great.
Very good. So we have a motion and a second to delay this for 1 year. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, everyone.
We're now up to the county administrator's report.
Okay, I just have one item for you this evening, and that is in the budget requests that are included in all the numbers that we just reviewed, was a request for new furniture and configuration of the finance office department. And we learned from the vendor that the prices due to items that are outside of county government control, has to do more with the federal government. The prices are gonna go up significantly in the near future, so they wanted to lock in the pricing by June 3rd. So that quote was signed by President Fithian last week.
Any questions? Perfect. Then we'll move on. Bonnie, now I got you at Kent Alcohol and Tobacco Enforcement. I don't know,
Time you're really up.
I had a little brain freeze a while ago there, so I apologize.
That's okay. Good evening. I'm Inspector Pearsall with Kent Alcohol and Tobacco Enforcement. I'm here tonight with a license update. On May 6, 2025, the Commissioners approved the Class D beer, wine, and liquor license for Maine Wine LLC. On May 12, 2025, the applicant paid the required fee, and liquor license number 4919 was issued. This transaction will be recorded in the monthly report of retail license activity required by the Comptroller of Maryland Field Enforcement Division. On May 20th, 2025, Coleman's Tavern submitted a valid trader's business license for 2024 and 2025. The establishment also produced documentation that the articles of revival submitted were cleared and in good standing with the State Department of Assessments and Taxation of Maryland. License number 4772 was issued to Coleman's Tavern on May 20th, 2025, so that's been resolved.
Good deal.
Yes.
About that. Didn't take long.
No, it didn't take long at all.
Now she could start all over.
Working like a well-run, or well-greased clock.
Well, we got a lot of, what's the word I want to look for? Experience
Well-
and how to deal with that,
Yeah.
I would say.
You learned new names over in Annapolis.
Yes.
And new phone numbers and.
But unfortunately, I don't think it still will help. Anyway, the next thing I have here is FY 2025 third round of tobacco compliance checks. The third round of tobacco compliance checks was conducted on May 16th and 17th, 2025, using a underage cadet. During this check, we checked 29 tobacco establishments, and all but one complied. One establishment sold a tobacco product to the young cadet. They were issued a citation, which we're still in the process, whether they're going to pay the fine or we go to court. So that's where we stand. And I
What
didn't-
is, just to remind me, what is the citation worth? What's the fee for that?
The first offense is $300. The second offense is $1,000, and the third offense is $3,000.
Wow.
Was this a first offense?
This was a first offense for this person, but not for the establishment.
So it's by person, not necessarily.
Correct, it's the person who sold the product.
All right. That it?
That's it for me.
Any questions,
Any-
gentlemen? Well, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you.
On here, it says public comment. Anyone like to, I don't see many of the public here except good old John. John, you got a question or a comment for us tonight? Well, I gotta say, I've been here 27, this is my 27th budget hearing. This is by far the easiest one I've ever sat through. It was, so I guess everybody's somewhat satisfied, or either they've give up on us or whatever, but this was certainly a very easy budget hearing. And I've been through some brutal ones, and this was by far the best I've ever sat through, so thank
Well,
you.
you've got some pretty good help.
Oh, well, I do. I'll be the first to say that. I don't want to brag on you too much. But no, it's been a good, it was fun to work through this process. We've got Pat and her office working diligently, and I think Shelley and the three of us, I think, try to do the best we can, and I think maybe it's panned out. And Dr. McComas, we really appreciate working with you. It's really been a pleasure. You were handed a rough hand there, and you dealt with it very professional, and we look forward to dealing with you in the future. So again, thank you for all your efforts.
Along those notes, I'd go a step further. We have some of our department heads here and another elected official. I think that, I said this year a couple of times to people, how fiscally responsible you guys are, and it does help us, really does help us in the long run. So I want to thank you guys and all the ones that aren't here as well. Oh, except Dan. Dan is here too, and sometimes we got to rein Dan in, but other than that, we have a pretty good team.
Great job.
Well, thank you. We have a couple closed sessions we have to go through, and I again thank everybody for coming. John, you're our public, so thanks a lot. Appreciate it. So,
Budget. As I said, I don't worry about the budget, because Ronnie's gonna try to give everybody everything they ask for. John's gonna be a little tight.
it's all up to Albert. What you're saying is he makes all the decisions.
Yeah, well, I do. What I tried to build a bridge.
You should write a letter to the editor, John.
Oh, my.
Well, thank you for those kind words, John.
Kind words.
They were.
You took down.
Yeah, right. Very good. No, nothing else. I'll entertain a motion for a closed session.
I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session under the Annotated Code of Maryland General Provisions, Article 3-305. B, 10, to discuss public security if the public body determines that public discussion would constitute a risk to the public or to the public security, including one, the Department of Fire and Police Services and staff, and the development and implementation of emergency plans, to consider the acquisition of real estate property.
Oh, not that one yet.
No, we're going to do that one first. I want to do that one
Right,
first.
we're going to do that one first,
Oh,
and
so
then we'll,
We'll do number 2 first, John,
Okay.
and then we'll come back to 1.
oh, number 2 first?
We want to do the land acquisition issue.
You want to do that one first?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that should be
Well, the
relatively
reason we
easy.
put them on the agenda this way is because most of the people
Well, we can
go
change
home after this, but it's up to you.
No,
It's
do the
your
land
discretion.
let's get the land acquisition out of the way.
I do think the land acquisition one will go pretty quickly. I say that, and that's usually the kiss of
Yeah,
death
that's
when
a
I
kiss
say
of
that,
death,
right.
Tom, that's
Yeah.
So do I finish reading this or
Yes.
Yeah.
Read about property acquisition and legal advice.
where am I at here? To consider the acquisition of real property for a public purpose and matters directly related thereto, and to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice respectively. There are two matters scheduled for discussion. One is the daily operations of a safety facility and the different options of possibly available. And the other ones are details about public security need to be kept private for safety reasons.
Got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it, we are in closed session.
Okay, I think Dan's going to hand something out, and then we need to wait for Sandra's